I honestly can't believe that this just happened, but here we go. I was online shopping this morning when I saw these gorgeous outdoor Christmas lights at really great prices at a local store. My mother loves Christmas, but she's never had the money or time to put any lights up, but she longed to have some. I decided that, as an early Christmas present, that I would get her some that she could be proud of. I purchased some great deals online, like some light-up reindeer, her favorite, some colorful string lights, with the colors red, green, white, blue, and purple, a snowflake-shaped light, and some light-up candy canes for her candy cane lane. I ordered them paid with my credit card and was actually able to pick them up in store, same day, all for less than $100, a total steal. When I got there, I saw there's a long line at customer services, so I decided to browse for a bit. I ended up getting a super great deal on a pair of dripping icicle lights, the buy one, get one free deal. I then added a strand of light-up garland so she could decorate inside with more than just the tree. I know it's a lot, but I made good money from doing remote lab work at my university, and since I had more than enough saved up for tuition, decided to spoil my family after such a rotten year. What I got from my siblings, dad and grandparents, are not related to this event, so I go pay, and sure enough, the line at customer service is a lot shorter. I get in line, wait maybe 20 minutes, and when I'm at the counter, I present my email proving proof of purchase. But it takes a bit for her to scan the QR code as the device is apparently not reading it. I had no problem with that because, hey, things happen when suddenly my own cart is slammed into my side. See, what I did was put myself between my cart and the exit. I've read one too many horror stories of people just running off with others' purchases that I wanted to play it safe, and it kinda worked. Except for the fact that I'm now in a lot of pain because my own cart was rammed right into my hip bone and knee, knocking me over to the floor and nearly making me whack my head. And the crazy lady who did that then tried to push my own cart over me, all while screaming, "I kid you not, you stupid little thief." This lady was literally trying to sell that I stole her cart. Needless to say, I'm super pissed and super in pain. Security is called. I'm screaming at the lady to stop lying and give me back my cart, and then I end up detained. Why? Beats me. Angry, I then twisted out of the security guy's hold, ripped the receipt out of my pocket, and shoved it in his face. "I have the receipt, you witch." He's startled, steps back, and stares at the receipt, and I snap at him that he needs to get a pair of glasses, because whatever he thought, I have the receipt, that witch doesn't. Now call me a ambulance because I can't take the bus home from how in pain my body was from being rammed by my own cart. An older security guard, a manager, and the head honcho supervisor come over, and the older guard starts berating the younger guy for jumping to conclusions. Again, apparently, the manager checks my receipt, and sure enough, it's all mine, and the crazy lady has no receipt. Of course, then the lady starts wailing about how I must have stolen her receipt, only to have it pointed out that I had used my points card for that store, which was on the receipt and they could match to my ID. They also had CCTV of me with all my items, buying them, and then her coming along and grabbing them and ramming me with my own cart. I then have to sit there on a bench with all my items. The customer service girl who struggled to get the QR code to scan returned my phone to me. I dropped it on the counter when I was hit and started placing my items I had bought online into the cart, which had now been returned to me. While Crazy Lady was detained. Police and EMTs arrived not long after. Store actually wasn't that far from a hospital or police station. And after the EMTs loaded me onto the stretcher. My ankle was badly twisted from being knocked over, and I wanted to go to the hospital just to be safe. I give my statement, press charges, before turning to the supervisor as he comes over. He's very apologetic and asks if I want anything from the store for free as compensation for this disaster. I told him that all I wanted was for A, the idiot security guard to either be rigorously retrained in thinking for once or be fired, B, that I wanted them to hold on to my purchases until I could come back to pick them up, and C, that crazy lady who was now screaming, You'll hear from my son. He's a lawyer, which is how I know she's an entitled mother. Be perma-banned from their entire chain because who knows if she's gotten away with it before or would do it again. The super agreed that it was more than fair. The security guy who detained me improperly looked horrified, and apparently Crazy Lady heard that and went deathly pale before she fainted right then and there. I'm now sitting in a hospital bed, my ankle in a cast, the bones cracked, my left hip and knee in pain, my right elbow bruised, and having to call my grandparents to pick me up because my family only has 2 cars and my sister and dad are both at work, hence why I took the bus. What happened to me isn't right, and I'm going to be pressing charges. And I'm in Canada, so I can't make her pay my medical bill as it's covered by the provincial plan. I posted this in another sub, and someone recommended I post it here. I hope that's okay. I had somewhat of a revelation this weekend. I'm still processing how I feel about it and considering if I should confront my parents. Anyway, here it is. I believe my parents resent me for starting my own family. I, 40 male, come from a big family. I'm the second oldest of 9 kids. My older sister Jane is just a year older than me. There is a 6-year gap between me and the next sibling. Then my mom had a kid every 2 to 3 years. Since Jane and I were the oldest, we always helped with the little kids and the chores around the house. In fact, it was common for my parents and other adults to refer to us as Jane and OP and the kids. It's like Jane and I were not considered children. It's more like we were 2 other adults living in the house. We were homeschooled, so we were home all the time. Part of my job is that I would wake up, make breakfast for the kids, then get them started with their school or activities before I started my own schoolwork. Jane would sleep in because she was more of a night owl, and it was her job to help at night with the baby because there was always a baby. Jane and I did most of the chores around the house. We took turns either cleaning the kitchen or doing the laundry, of which there was a lot. I did all the guy stuff like mowing the yard and taking out the trash. As I got older, I would delegate some of these chores to my younger brothers, but it was still my responsibility to make sure it got done. Once I was old enough to drive, I would run errands and take the kids everywhere. I can't tell you how many times I would take the kids to things like play dates or doctor's appointments. I would often tuck the kids in bed and tell them stories. To me, these things were all just normal, but looking back on it, I was more like a second dad to the kids than a brother. Jane and I did have a lot of freedom as teenagers to go out with our friends, if the chores were done. We didn't have cell phones back then. If we wanted to go out, we would just tell our parents we were going and they didn't care, as long as we were back by the next morning. I moved out when I was 20, but I still spent a lot of time at my parents', and one of my younger siblings was almost always at my house. One brother, JJ, pretty much lived with me since he was 14 because he and our mom didn't get along. When JJ was 17, he got in a wreck and he called me instead of calling Dad, because I was just the one who handled those kinds of things. During all of this time, my parents always talked about how important it was for Jane and I to help with the kids because they were so busy with their ministry. I can't count how many times I had to drop what I was doing to take care of something because Mom or Dad were counseling someone. Sorry, I feel like I'm rambling. I hope I have painted an accurate picture of my childhood. Let's move on. I had not really dated much, but when I was 25, I met and started dating Anne. We fell in love fast and got married less than a year later. My younger siblings love Anne. She is a great cook and hostess. Our house became the hangout spot. My younger siblings started calling her Mama Anne, something they still do to this day. We have now been married 15 years and have 2 kids of our own. My mom and Jane did not like Anne. Jane and Anne get along okay now, but Anne and my mom do not have a good relationship. I never understood why, but I think I have finally figured out it's because they see it as Anne having taken me away. As Anne and I focused on our relationship and started a family, I spent less and less time doing things for my parents. My dad liked Anne at first, but over the past few years their relationship has soured. Throughout the years, my dad has made comments to me about keeping up my responsibilities. One time, he called me about one of the younger kids who had gotten in a fight with my mom and said, "You better get your brother and change his attitude. It's not okay how he treated your mom, and you are going to make him apologize." A few years ago, Anne and I set some boundaries with my parents, telling them we were not going to raise or discipline their kids. Our home is always open to my siblings, but we no longer let my parents try and use us to straighten them up. My parents have not taken this well. About a year ago, Anne injured her foot and couldn't walk for a while. Just as she was getting better, I was diagnosed with kidney disease, which then turned into kidney failure. I've had several surgeries, with another one coming in a few weeks. It's been a rough year. During this time, my parents have not only refused to help, they have actively made things harder for us. Things like promising to help with our kids, but then canceling at the last minute, usually because something ministry-related came up. Recently, my sister-in-law, who lives in another state, had a baby, and my mom has been staying with her and helping for the past 6 weeks. My sister-in-law has said that Mom is a godsend and is so wonderful. My dad is going to help every weekend. This hurts me because my mom wouldn't give us a single night to help with our youngest when he was born. Anyway, I'm sorry this post has turned out longer than I thought it would. I needed to get some of this off my chest. This weekend, I was talking to another sister and telling her how I don't understand why Mom and Dad don't treat me like they do the rest of the kids, even Jane. It's like I'm not one of their children, and it just kind of hit me that they resent me for getting married and starting my own family and leaving them to raise their own kids. Part of me is relieved to finally realize why they treat me like they do, and part of me is sad. I'm kind of scared about this upcoming surgery, and I really wish I had a parent I could talk to about it. But I don't feel like I have parents, just some people that I co-parented my siblings with. It was the week before Christmas, and I was flying home to New Jersey from a business trip to California. When I got to the departure lounge, I ran into an old friend from high school. He was a first lieutenant in the Army coming home on leave. He said we should ask the gate agent to switch our seats so we could sit together. I said I can do better than that. I was traveling so much for my job that I had tons of frequent flyer miles. I cashed some in and upgraded both of us to first class. We had just settled into our seats when an Air Force major and his wife entered the plane and approached my friend. "Lieutenant, are you traveling on orders?" "No, sir. I am going home on leave." "Is this guy traveling with you?" "Maybe he thought we were a couple." "Not really, sir. We're old friends and just happened to be on the same flight." "Did you and your friend get upgrades to first class?" "Yes, sir. We did." "Well, you're in our seats." My friend produced his boarding pass, which showed he was in his assigned seat. The major explained that regardless of the boarding pass, as a senior officer, he and his wife were entitled to the first-class seats and we would have to move. That was when the flight attendant came over and asked what the problem was. The major said that he had asked the gate agent for an upgrade and was told none were available, but now he sees they upgraded a lieutenant and this civilian. As a superior officer, regardless of branch of service, he had priority and was claiming those seats. The flight attendant said, "Gentlemen, please stay in your assigned seats. Major, please proceed to your seats in coach. You are blocking other passengers." The major started arguing about rank and military protocol. He claimed he had the right to order the lieutenant out of his seat. It's never been clear to me how this clown thought he could order me to do anything. The flight attendant asked him again to take his seat, and he kept arguing. Finally, she said, "If you are so concerned with rank, I will get the pilot. He is a colonel in the Air Force Reserve, and I am sure he will be happy to order you to exit the airplane and discuss this with the gate agent." The major stared at her for a moment, then realized she wasn't bluffing. Before moving to his seat, he demanded my friend's name and unit so he could report him. I don't know if he ever did, but my friend never heard another word about it.